Perfect. So building email campaigns in your agent locator system is a great way to help you manage and nurture the leads that you have in your system, whether you've previously spoke to them, deemed them as a certain level of client, maybe you have a bad number for a lead, or maybe you just need help just with engaging and having periodic check-ins, things like that. Some people like building holiday campaigns, so you don't even have to think about it. You know, every holiday that happens, an email automatically goes out for those individuals on that day. So you just assign it to all your leads coming in. That way you're always paying attention and acknowledging all the holidays to those individuals. So for you in your CRM system to be able to access and or build the campaigns, you're just going to go over to the settings tab here, and you're going to the campaign template editor. Now, for many of you, if not all of you, you should see a list of campaigns already in your system. Okay, so if you do not see a list of campaigns already in your system, please reach out to our support team. We can easily get these installed so that you can start utilizing some of the basic campaigns that are in here. Now, any campaign that is built in here, I have some duplicates because we were playing around with some stuff, but I'm just going to find an older campaign here. So let's just say it's this one here. So any existing campaign that you guys do see in your CRM system, you can still edit it. So you're not stuck with whatever that campaign has in it, whether it's the text messages, if you want to add more communication, like so extend that campaign, or you just want to change a little bit as to what is said on the messages or the emails and things like that. So if you ever want to change this, you can just go in, click on the action and make your edits. Now, keeping in mind that with these campaigns, anything that's in those brackets is your short code, right? So we don't want to mess around with that too much because we don't want to affect the actual functioning capability of that short code because they are case sensitive. So if you guys recall, if you were on the session a couple of weeks ago, we were going in and learning more about SMS templates and email templates because it's going to help you when you're building campaigns to quickly add those as a template to use. But it also allows you to use them in one-off scenarios where you may want to send that email out to somebody that might not be on that campaign or maybe previously received it but never looked at it. You just want to send them that information again. So it helps build your campaign a lot faster. And it's also going to ensure that your short codes are exactly as they should be because they're all drag and drop. So you can go in, as mentioned, you can go in and change this, whether you're writing it, or if you already have a template, you can change the template that you wanted to use. You can just select whatever template it was, and then kind of going in that way. Okay, so that is if you wanted to go in and edit a campaign. Now, for many of you, you guys want to build campaigns. So building a campaign, you're just going to simply go on to the Create New option when you're in the Campaigns template editor. The first thing you're going to do is give your campaign a name. It's whatever name you want to call your campaign, essentially. Just note you cannot have any kind of special characters in there, so dashes, periods, things like that. It's just no special characters other than a space, essentially. So I'm just going to go and call this Leveraging Campaign. Okay, so I'm just going to call it that. Now, when you build out a campaign, the most common execution type you're going to be using is the relative date, because it's relative to when you're assigning that campaign. Each action goes out, with response to that. A fixed date campaign, if you're to select that, means that each action in your campaign has a specific date that it's going to go out on. So the easiest way to kind of explain this is a holiday campaign. Right, so if you built out a holiday campaign, your 2022 holiday campaign, you're then finding the appropriate date. So which day is Canada Day, which day is Thanksgiving, which day is Christmas, which day is the civic holiday, and so on and so forth, Mother's Days, Father's Days, all of those things. You're finding the exact date that those actions would actually go out on. So it's a great way if you build it, you spend a little bit of time initially, then for the entire year that campaign is going to run on all your leads, and you can even extend it. So if you wanted to have it and just kind of go through for the next 5 years, just as an example, and build out this really long campaign, then you could easily do that, and then it's completely set and forget. For this, I'm going to choose relative date because that's the most common. Now, on your campaign, you do have stopping clauses. So this is at the main level of the campaign. Having a hard time getting that lead to be responsive to you, you might have your stopping clause as being made contact, right? So as soon as we move this lead anywhere through the pipeline past made contact, this entire campaign would stop. So you don't have to remember to go back in and stop that campaign after somebody actually, you made that connection. You can do it, so you can do it through pipelines. You can also do it through tags. So if, let's say, you have a campaign that is focusing on people getting pre-approved, right? So it's all just information on mortgages and things like that, it's hypothetical. You could have a stopping clause of a tag that now they've been pre-approved, right? So once they have the tag pre-approved, campaign just automatically stops. So you have that option. You can use both options as well. Now, as we get into the actions, you can also have stopping clauses just on the actions itself. So we'll go into that. I'm going to leave the stopping clauses on the main level off for the time being, just so I can show you. Because the main level will tackle the entire campaign, whereas if you left this open, you can create stopping clauses for each action if you wanted to. Okay, so we'll kind of talk into that in a moment. Now, you can also have your campaign on a main level or have silent hours, meaning that during what time at night to what time in the morning, or even if it's daytime, you only want actions to go out in the evening, as an example, between what hours is this campaign silenced? So if you're automatically assigning it, let's say, and it's all text messages, you could say, you know what, anytime between 9:30 at night and 9:30 in the morning, this is silence, meaning if somebody registers at 10 o'clock at night, the campaign, the first action will initiate at 9:31 in the morning, because now it's outside of your silent hours. I usually put silent hours on text messages only inside if I'm building out a campaign, unless it's the whole campaign itself is, it's all situational really, as to where you would put that in there. You also have that option as well as executing actions only on business days. Okay, so if you only want these to run on business days, then you can do that. So if you don't really want to be engaging with your leads over the weekend, then you can do that. We'll go into the clone campaign option in just a moment. We'll kind of build out this one a little bit, and then I'll show you how the cloning works, because that's a great way to duplicate a campaign if you just need to have two very similar campaigns, but maybe some of the actions are slightly different. So we're just going to go ahead and save this as is. Now, as we save this as is, this is where you can start building out your campaign. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is just click on this plus sign. It's then going to prompt you as to what is your first action, right? Do we want to send an email first, an SMS? We probably would not assign to a campaign right away, but you could. And or do you want to create a task in here? So you can automatically have task campaigns. So if any of you guys have gone through Agent Locator training and you're having your trainers check in on you, part of the campaign where they're sending you out information and emails, we have tasks in there for them to follow up with you. So that's where they're always on point with their check-ins, is because it's automatically creating those for them to accomplish. So let's just choose the first action as an SMS here. Okay, so when you have the SMS, now you have the option to structure that action on the right-hand side. So you can 100% just go ahead and type whatever you want in here. Again, you would have to know the short codes by heart or have them somewhere else on your screen that you can copy and paste them over. Otherwise, that's where it can be easier for you to create the templates first. right? So these are all, some of these are duplicated, but yes, this is where you would go in and you can choose the template. So let's just go, I'm just gonna go is this. Okay, so this is the is this first name. This is the first action. So that's the first text that I wanna go out in my campaign. You can choose who these messages are coming from. In most cases, it's the main agent, the person that is assigned that lead. But in some cases, depending on what the message is about, you can have it go from a specific user type that's assigned to that lead, or a specific user entirely within your system. Okay, so you can choose. Most commonly, we're seeing is the main agent, but every team structure is definitely different. Now, this is where you can add stopping clauses on the individual action. Okay, so that's why I did not put it on the main level, because I wanted to be able to have it on my individual actions instead. Okay, so how this works is the same idea. Is if I put a tag on, let's say pre-approved, maybe this is about pre-approval, and I have the tag has been pre-approved, what will happen is the campaign's still going to run. It's just going to skip over this action for any leads that have the tag pre-approved. Okay, so you have a way of running campaigns and omitting certain actions depending on your stopping clauses for those specific actions. So you can really tailor it to your leads and their situations. So I'm not going to put a stopping clause on this one in this situation here. Now you have your delay period. Okay, so for your first action in a campaign, your delay period is how long after, when you assign this campaign to a lead, would you want this text message to go out? Do you want it to go out? And you can type whatever it is, or you can choose, like, use the arrows, and or you can drop down. So do you want it like 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 years? So you can really kind of build it out. You know, you can see you can extensively build out a campaign. So that's the first one there. Then this is where I would use the silent hours, unless my entire campaign was text heavy, is on the actions that are text messages themselves. Because in email, I don't really mind personally if an email was going out at 10 o'clock at night. Some of you may not want that. I can 100% understand, but definitely on the SMS messages. We don't want to be prompting people to communicate with us at 1:30 in the morning. So here, this is where you'd say what time at night. So I'm just going to go 9:30 at night till, and let's just change this to 9:15 in the morning. Okay, so then once you have that, you're just saving it. Now, again, once you've created an action, you can go back in and edit it. So you're not stuck with the decision you made initially. And then from here, you're just building out that campaign. So now I'm going to click the plus sign, and now let's say I want to send an email. So again, we can type out our email if we wish to, or we can select a template. And again, your system will have a lot of templates in there, but let's say I just want to use this one as my template for this email. And then again, we can choose who it's coming from. And then let's say this one here is an email about pre-approval. So I'm going to have these tags, because it's duplicated. Most of you should only see one. These tags, if they're applied to a lead, it's going to skip over this email. Okay, so it'll skip over this email, but it'll carry on with the rest of my campaign. And then we get to the delay period. So the delay period for this action is how long after this SMS do I want this email to go out to my lead? So let's say that one's 5 minutes. So maybe I want this to go out 2 days later. So 2 days later, I'm going to get this. And because it's an email, it's going to be 2 days after this. And this already has a silent hour on it. This is probably going to go out in the daytime anyway. So I'm just going to save it. And apparently it doesn't like just pictures. So we'll just use this one. Still has a picture in there, but it has content. So it's looking for content, apparently not just images, some sort of text in there. So now we have this as part of the campaign. Now, let's say you were running this campaign. If you want to create a task in here for yourself, you know, whatever it might be, you're just creating the title of the task. I'm just going to call this test task, campaign task you'll always have to put the title and the details of that task. You would rate the priority and who the task is assigned to. So you always have to put who it's assigned to, or it's just going to automatically assign to the main agent of that lead. Okay, so if there's a specific person that you want to have action that task, definitely select who the task is for. The initial status of the task is going to be on not started. You can definitely change that as well. And then the due date, the delay date is just basically 1 minute after it gets assigned over. So it'll be 1 minute after that due date of the delay period. Okay, so it's a little confusing. I always set mine to 1. Again, you can have a stopping clauses so the task does not create. Okay, so the correct task will create once it hits in here. And then your delay period. So how long after that previous email would we want this task to be created? So let's say we want it 4 hours later. Now you can have silent hours, not really necessary, it is a task. We can then go save, and now we have the task in here. Now let's say this campaign here, we now want it to move this lead to a different campaign. Okay, so that's when you're going to assign to a campaign. So you would select the campaign that you would want it to. So you can loop it. You can loop it right back. So you can have your campaign just constantly looping. So if any of you guys have had those, please book your training email, please book your training, and then there's text and there's text. I have looped that campaign. Okay, so it literally keeps looping until you book something. So I apologize if you feel like you're being spammed, but if you just acknowledge them, I stop them. So let's say I want to put this person on the bad number campaign, just like hypothetically, and you can stop the campaign from actually going over. So you can stop the assignment of the campaign just like you could stop the assignment of or the action of an email. So you can stop this campaign from actually actioning if, let's say, we want this one to stop if we've actually made contact or moved any further through the pipeline with these individuals. And then again, your delay period is how long after this task do I want this campaign to be assigned? So let's say 1 day later, it's going to assign to this campaign, gives me that opportunity. Maybe this I had to call the person, but then I didn't make connection. So then their pipeline is still going to be on try to contact, meaning that they would then loop into my next campaign. There's a lot to take in. I 100% can understand that. So this is essentially building out your campaign. Now, before I move any further through here, does anyone have any questions? You guys, if you feel it's easier to talk and ask your questions, just raise your hand and I'll give you the ability to speak. You can use the chat and you can use the Q&A. And I can guarantee you that if you have a question or you're uncertain on something, there's somebody else in here that is going to benefit as well from that clarification. So anyone have any questions so far on building out this campaign? All right, so we got a couple people raising their hands. So Daryl first. Daryl, you can definitely go ahead and ask your question. You just got to unmute yourself. There we go.
Hi.
All right.
I think I responded before that I had said I was using campaigns. I have no questions up to this point.
Okay. No worries. Perfect. Perfect. Sorry about that.
Of course.
And just lower your hand so I don't create more confusion. And then how about Sadiq? Sadiq Mohammed, did you have any questions? You just have to unmute yourself. Sadiq?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Just I want to ask, can we use as a mass campaign as well?
Yes. Yeah. So you can see there's the SMS is the first action, right? So whenever you're building out these campaigns, you can choose what the actions are. So if you want it to be complete, like only SMSs, you can do that. If you want it only emails, you could do that. Or if you want it to be a combination of text and emails, you can do that. or combination of everything. So a lot of anyone that's coming on board now, you do have an extensive campaign that goes out that we actually have action for about 9 months, because it's again, it's going to stop if you guys make contact with the lead, but it's there kind of riding in the background. So if you're falling off the wagon a little bit, not just staying 100% on top of your leads or your follow-ups, it'll be like once to 2 weeks, then 3 weeks, then 2 weeks. And so it's not aggressive, and they're just prompts like, hey, we understand if you're just looking, is there any information I can pass along your way? Just things like that. Again, small prompts to try to get the lead to engage with you guys. So you can definitely build out, long-winded campaigns that are just strictly SMS messages.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Oh, you were able to mute yourself. Good, you found it. What is the name of that campaign? So that campaign, so Daryl, you're probably referring to, it might or might not be in your system, okay? So if it's not in your system, just reach out to support. We can definitely duplicate it into your system. But that campaign that we're going, it should be in here, but it might not, because I might not have imported it in here. I have a feeling it's not in here, but I can quickly jump into another campaign or another system. That's just our dummy system for copying all these campaigns over. Yeah, it's not in here. So let me just find it. I'll show you guys exactly what it is so that you have a good understanding of what that campaign is and if you would want to use it in the first place. So give me 1 second here. And I'm going to have to log out of this one and log into this one. All right, so this is just a blank CRM system. This is where we're creating filters and campaigns and things like that we can dump into your guys' systems. So if I go into the campaign template editor, so it's these ones. So there's 2 of them. One has with sold and one has without sold. The reason behind this is some feeds that are out there, we have access to the sold listings. And there's a lot of feeds out there that do not give third-party access to the sold listings. Any ones that we have access to or have been given permission, I can promise you, working on getting you those sold. And really the only difference between the campaign that has sold and without sold is the email. There's an email in there that says something about sold listings, and it's just tweaked a little bit differently. That's really the only the major difference. So if we go into here, we can see there's 12 actions in here, and there's also an assign of campaign. So the first 3 actions are what most of you are seeing. The general like registration, like the autoresponder that goes out. Then the second one is, again, acknowledging that lead and asking a question about their search criteria, trying to get them to respond to you. These ones go out. As you can see, there's stopping clauses here. The SMS the following day, so 1 day after, it's like a follow-up. So this one here, if we've signed an agreement, then we're kind of stopping it. But even if we've spoken to somebody, so let's pretend I spoke to you yesterday and we updated your search and this is still acceptable to go out. It's kind of going back into your customer service, your client care, just making sure they were able to, review and if they want to make any further adjustments. It's also great if you haven't talked to somebody because it's a second attempt to try to get that individual to respond to you. Okay. Now, after this message, 1 day later or 1 minute later, they're going to be assigned to the home locator campaign. Okay, so the home locator campaign is a short campaign, 2 text messages, 2 emails, and they go out basically at the same time. We can take a look at that in a moment. But basically, we're trying to get your leads to action and sign up on the home locator app. It is beneficial for you that they do. The first step in anyone signing up on your home locator is them entering in their address. So every person that you have sign up on this home locator, like the app itself, you're getting their address, as well as they're automatically set up to receive active listings in their neighborhood if you only have active listings feed, and or active and sold listings in their neighborhood. So there's a true benefit, but there's only 2 actions, and I'll show you that. We wanted to keep it short and sweet. If they don't sign up, then so be it. This will not assign if they've downloaded the Home Locator app. So if the lead has already downloaded the app, it's going to skip over this action. Okay? They're not going to get reassigned and prompt them to, download the app when they've already downloaded the app. So it'll skip over. Then you can see how we've spaced it out, where it's 2 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 week. And again, these are just small prompts. The SMSs that we're using in these prompts are the same SMS messages that our ISA team is utilizing. Okay, and these have been found to be some of the most utilized or responsive type SMSs, meaning they have engaged the leads the most to yield a response from them when the IS team is essentially manually sending these to individuals. So these here, again, it's just kind of, asking general, they're soft prompts, right? They're not intrusive. I don't want to start to keep bugging you. Have you found anything that's caught your attention? Like they're here. So how's it going? Well, do you need anything from me? Right. So it's just simple questions, but you can see how they're spaced apart. They're not too intrusive. And then the last one is 4 days. So it does run for several weeks. Again, it's going to stop if you make contact with your lead. So you don't have to worry that you are pestering this person after you've communicated with them. This is for the leads that you're still trying to connect with. So whether you've gone through all your call attempts and still no luck, whatever the situation may be, or you just, maybe fell off the bandwagon and haven't been making your calls. And so you're really not engaging with your leads. So this is here kind of as a piggyback to try to get leads to become responsive for you. So that's that one. And then the Home Locator short, I'll show you just that one there. So they're going to be the same. This is like with solds or without solds. Again, it's just that one email. So even in that campaign, this first action goes out 5 days later. Okay, so they get the one message from you, and then 5 days later, they're going to get this message, which is again, just encouraging them to download the app, the browse properties on the go, email, and then so that goes out 1 minute after. So it's kind of like it's the same, one action combined, one combined action. And then the same thing 5 days after that, another SMS, and then another that, and then it stops. That's it. But these campaigns, this campaign itself will not run if the lead has that tag on them, which is automatically added to their account when they do download the app. Okay, so just so you're, so that's what that is. So it's just a longer extended version of the initial campaign to allow for you to, maintain communication attempts, even if they're not active, right? Sometimes people aren't always active. Sadiq, yes, the session is being recorded, and we are, it does go up onto YouTube tomorrow, so it'll be on YouTube. You will also receive an email tomorrow as well with the recording from this session, as well as there's an evening session as well, so you get both recorded. So I'm just going to log out of this and go back into our training CRM system here. Give me 1 second. Nope. All right, so now we're back in here, and let's go back into your campaign template editor. So we're going to go back in here. So many of you want to know, again, with this, the campaign, we've built the campaign. We know how to make the campaign automatically stop rather. Now, how do we make this campaign automatically start? Right, so if we don't want to always have to be assigning this campaign manually, how do we get it to do it on its own? So that's where we use the automatic assignment right there. So you're just going to click on that sucker. You have your triggers. Okay, so your triggers are essentially when will this campaign trigger? So do you want it to only trigger when somebody signs up on your website or they're an import, so meaning they're a brand new lead? Or do you want it always? So anytime you change a lead type, add a tag, change the main agent, whatever it is, it will initiate the campaign. So only at registration would be like that campaign that I just showed you. When the lead signs up, they're automatically assigned to that campaign. We wouldn't necessarily assign it to somebody that's already in our system, okay? Always means like if, let's say I have a tag. So let's say this campaign is specific for first-time home buyers, okay, hypothetically. I can have this campaign action just by me adding the tag first-time buyer. Okay, as soon as I apply the tag first-time buyer, this campaign starts going. If that makes any sense to y'all, I would do your best not to use all of these at once because it can definitely cause confusion with the campaigns. You don't need the main agent unless the campaign is specific to you. If you're like, let's say, a sub-user and you have a campaign that you're using, then yes, you would want this. And you know, so this is the campaign that gets assigned only to your leads. Then you would choose yourself as the main agent. So you can do it through tag, right? So I tag them as this or put this tag on them. It initiates the campaign, regardless of how long that lead has been in my system for. If you do sources, that's typically, sources can be added after, of course, but often they're created at the time of registration. So sources will only work as if you're adding sources after the fact or changing somebody's source after the fact. So usually you're using it at the registration one. You can do it as lead types as well, right? So some of you may get, you have different lead types and some will have, you'll see home buyer, home seller. Some of them will just say seller, but maybe you have a buyer and seller, right? So it came in, the lead came in as home buyer, let's say, and after a conversation, they're also a seller. So then you assign the lead type to home, you know, buyer and seller. Then it would initiate a campaign that you might have created for people that are thinking of buying and selling, that sort of thing. And then of course you can just have it, you know, if you change the main agent. If you change the main agent to whoever, then you can initiate their campaign just by them being the main agent. And again, if you guys are venturing and or building out these campaigns, we can definitely help you. So I always encourage that you all do your best, build it out. If you're not confident with the automatic assignment just yet, then don't use it because it could definitely be problematic if it's not set up right. So we would be more than happy to review it for you, make sure everything is running well or it's going to run well, or point out anything that might be of an issue for you. But that's how you do it. So I'm just going to leave this as first time buyer just so that we can see how that actually works after. Okay, so they have either one of these tags, it's going to initiate that. So you just hit set. If you ever need to delete this, you want to change it, whatever, just click delete and it'll remove all the automatic assignment settings for you. Okay, you just have to click that once in there. So now I'm going to close this out. Now we did talk as well about cloning a campaign, right? So sometimes, and I had somebody yesterday, so she has two campaigns that are very, like they're identical, but based on the timeline, she has the action spread out differently, right? So instead of having to rebuild the entire campaign, she just cloned it and changed the delay period. So to clone this campaign, you're just going to go create new, and then you're going to go down to the bottom, and then you're going to choose the campaign, like so where you see the clone action, you're going to choose the campaign you want to clone, and you just go clone. It then recreates that entire campaign as it was, and you can see they named the title clone, right? So then this is where you can go in and change the action. So maybe on this campaign, I want the first action to go out in 1 minute instead, right? So I can have my actions, or maybe this one's an extended version. So I just want to add to it a little bit differently. So there's ways so you can reduce the amount of work you're doing by just duplicating some of the actions in there. The automatic assignment will not duplicate over, just so you're aware, that does not duplicate. So if you have the automatic assignment set on the one, it's not going to automatically configure the same for the cloned versions of those. So now you'll be able to see both of them in here. They're all in here. They have the same actions, and this one's auto assigned and this one isn't. So that's also a great where you guys can find campaigns that are assigned automatically to your leads if you're just looking for this, and it's going to tell you how they're being automatically assigned. If you wish to find your campaign, if you have a lot of them, you can search by keyword, of course. You can also sort by creation. So you can kind of filter through. Really all depends on how many campaigns you do have built out in here. Now I'm going to go, excuse me, before I move off of this section, because we're going to go into how do we assign these campaigns, if we're doing it manually, things like that. Before we go there, does anyone have any questions for me? Nope. Perfect. And we can always get back to them if something pops into mind. All right, so now we're in the main dashboard. Of course, when you open up a lead, one of the straightforward way of assigning a campaign is going to the e-campaigns, and you would select the campaign, right? So if I do here, you're going to, let's just say, I'm just going to typing it. I know it was my leveraging, and then I can assign it, okay? And I'm actually going to assign the leveraging clone instead, just because we know we don't have the automatic assignment on that one. Once you assign a campaign to a lead, you can click on that campaign and you can see all the actions. So you can preview. So if we wanted to preview this email, we can preview it. If we wanted to preview this SMS, we can preview it. Okay, so it allows you to do that. And at any time you can stop an action. So if I didn't want this task to go, happen, I can stop that action within the campaign from actually occurring overall in here. Now, one thing I do want to point out to you guys, do not click this button right here, okay? It's unclear for some people, and it's happened to, almost all of us, I think, where we've clicked on this, we're like, what is this? What that does is it will action the entire campaign all at once. Okay, so every single action in your campaign will go out all at once. Your lead, if you had 50 emails, they're getting 50 emails from you all at once. So don't click that button unless you feel it necessary to do that. But you can force out the individual. So you see how this one's been executed. I can force this email to actually go out ahead of schedule. So that's how I would do it. Your preferred way is clicking on the campaign, going through the actions. And if there's specific actions you want to push out right away, by all means, go ahead and do that. Or we can definitely just stop those actions there as well. Now, another way, so if you recall, we created this campaign to have the one campaign is going to be triggered by the tag first time buyer, right? So, and it's at always, so it's not at registration, it was always. So anytime we add that tag, we can do it. So if I go in and I find my first time buyer tags, where are they? There's a couple of them, I know that much. So we're gonna add the first time buyer tags. I only have both because it was duplicated and I had to choose both just to make sure. You guys you shouldn't be seeing duplicates in there. So I'm gonna assign this and we're gonna give it a second. It will action in a moment, the campaign, and we'll be able to see that if it's been applied. So there is the leveraging. So we can see this one just got assigned to the campaign, the lead. It's not the clone. This is the clone that we manually added. This is the one that was actioned automatically just by me putting this tag on the lead. Okay, so it's a great way to help, minimize your efforts. You know that if I put this tag, they're going to get assigned this. If I put this tag, they're going to assign this. Right, so it starts getting you, moving in your system and actually utilizing the features that are in it. Now you can also go in your system. So sometimes you might want to go, who is on that campaign? I want to pull up all my leads that are on that leveraging campaign. Okay, so you can do that with your filters. So if we go to the filters and you go campaigns, you can go has all selected. So if they had multiple campaigns, you would select multiple options. Has any selected. So if you have 3 campaigns that maybe have been modified over time, they have to have at least one of them if you're selecting multiple options. And has none selected means that they can't have any of these campaigns assigned to them. So I'm just going to go has any selected. And then I'm going to use the leveraging campaigns. I'm just going to use this one here. So we can see there's 225 leads. I want to pull up everyone that has this campaign assigned to them. So I'm going to go apply. And we can see now there's only one person in this database that has this campaign assigned to them. Okay. And again, if we were to do the other leveraging, it's the same idea. If we change that to none, I don't want anyone that has this campaign. We're going to see every other lead in here. So 224 of them do not have that campaign right now. Now you can also mass assign a campaign. So let's say I wanted to take the first 10 of these. So when you select the top one here, it's going to select all the leads on that page. You can see I have 10 out of 224. You could, of course, select all of them. Really depends on what you're trying to do. But you would then go apply actions. Right? So when you do apply actions, you're going down to assign e-campaign. So when you assign the e-campaign, you're just going to select that, and then you're going to select a campaign. So if we go the leveraging again, you can multiple select. So if I want to select multiple campaigns, I want to assign to somebody or a group of people, you can. This is also a great way if you are wanting to take a couple of leads or even one lead and you're assigning more than one to them at a time. It's a faster way of doing it. But once you select the campaign, you just go done. You want to mass assign it to all these leads? Yes. So it's sent for processing. So now all of these leads will have that campaign. I can add that filter item so we can see it. It's going to take a second because it goes through the whole process. But let's just see how many people are coming up. So has any selected. We now have 11. So we already had one that was on that campaign, and now we have 10 more that are currently on that campaign. So this is also a great way if you're trying to, if you have a text-heavy campaign and a lot of your campaigns are questions, trying to retrieve a prompt from an individual. I could, of course, let's say this was 2,000 leads, let's say, I can, of course, assign that campaign to all of my leads. The downside is that you're going to get a magnitude of responses potentially, and you might not have the time to action all those responses. So what you can do is even create a filter. So if you're doing the has none, right? So if you're doing the campaigns, you would use the has none selected. So if you built out and then let's do the leveraging, and then did similar to what I did. I now select 10 and then I go, and then, or however many, maybe I do it as 100 at a time. I do 100, mass assign the campaign to 100 people, give it, however long you want to, whether it's the same day or doing it consecutive days or you're kind of staggering the assignment, but then you always know who you've already assigned the campaign to and who you still need to assign it to, if that makes any sense to you folks. Does anyone have any questions on that and have a good understanding as to how the auto assignment works at all? I'll get in there. Now you guys do have the campaign. So if you guys have the list of campaigns that are built into your system, one of the things that we are working on is with the auto assignment. So as you recall, when we went in there and we have that option for auto assignment, we are working on having it so that we can auto assign campaigns based on their pipeline. So if you have it as a lead that is a warm lead, you might have a campaign associated with that. So it'll automatically assign that if you set that up, of course. Or maybe you have the leads that turn unresponsive, their pipeline's moving to unresponsive. You can automatically assign them to the unresponsive lead campaign. Okay, so that's something that's in the works for you. But what you can do, so there's the bad number campaign. Some of you may already be using it. And then there's the unresponsive lead campaign. The unresponsive lead campaign is, again, it's a combination of SMS messages that are just, again, trying to get the lead to be responsive. And the first message that does go out is this, and then their first name, which actually generates a high level of response because you're just asking if it's them. But it's a great way to initiate a conversation. Now, if you want to be able to mass assign your leads to the bad number campaign because maybe you didn't know how to use it, or you just recently got it, or maybe you're just new to Agent Locator, trust me, there's a lot of things in here that a lot of people don't utilize. So everyone's in a very similar boat. But you can find the people that have a bad phone number. So all you're going to do is use the filter is phone validity. Right, so just phone validity. And we want the people that are essentially invalid phone numbers, right? So we know a do not call person. Again, some people I know that I've seen are marking bad phone numbers as do not call. Mark those as invalid phone numbers. There's a difference, right? A do not call is somebody that just doesn't want phone calls. An invalid number is somebody where you've got a bad phone number. So when you mark your lead's number as invalid in your system, it's also prompting them to give you a valid phone number every time they look at a listing. This will not. Okay, so just marking them as invalid. Just a little side note for y'all. So phone validity is invalid. And then if we go to email validity, we want people that essentially have a valid email, or maybe we don't know. Maybe we haven't sent them an email yet, hypothetically. So when we go in here, we're going to apply the filter. There might not be many, but there is. But we can see that there's 9 leads in here that have bad phone numbers. Phone numbers have been marked as invalid. So what you can do is mass assign the bad number campaign. So you can select all of them that you have in your system, and you can assign the bad number campaign. Now, one thing I'm going to do first is actually make sure none of these people are already on that campaign, right? So we're going to go campaign, and sorry about that, campaign has none selected. And we want the bad number. So none selected means that they don't have this campaign. The bad number campaign. So all 9 of these people do not have this campaign. So we are going to select all of that. And then we're going to do apply actions. And then we would assign to the bad number campaign. Okay, so that's your bad number campaign, and then go done. Yes, I want to assign it. So all these leads are now going to get emails. So the bad number campaign, you guys should be able to see it in your CRM, in your campaigns. That, again, is emails that are trying to prompt that lead to provide you with a valid phone number. Okay, and some of the leads do respond. I'm not going to say all of them respond. You know, a good number of leads will respond to those emails, sometimes with additional criteria, sometimes just saying, here's my number, but, you know, I'm not looking for any phone calls just yet. So the response levels are different. The importance is that they're acknowledging, right? So you're making a note in there and following up according to how that lead is engaged with you. And often they will give you a number to be able to connect with them on. So that's utilizing the bad number. Now, the non-responsive lead campaign, again, that is geared to try to get those leads that you've been trying to get a hold of them, but just had no luck. Now, a non-responsive lead isn't a lead that you've called twice and didn't get an answer. That is not a non-responsive lead. That's a lead that you've only called twice and they didn't answer. I just had 2 phone calls while on here. Doesn't mean I'm not going to answer on the 3rd time. I'm just in the middle of something, so I can't take the call. So again, the non-responsive, you can do it based on pipeline. So you guys know you now have the non-responsive pipeline. That automatically triggers for most of you, unless you've modified it, after there is a combination of 10 SMS or calls on a lead. Okay, you can change that up in your user profile and your preferences if you want to manually change that instead, or change how the settings actually work. Okay, so you do have that option in there. But let's just see if we have anyone on non-response. Actually, I just moved that to non-responsive. So let's just, we know we have at least one person. So pipeline is non-responsive. So there's 3 people in here that are non-responsive, right? So that's where you could then go in and add the non-responsive lead campaign. You could also do it based on your calls, right? So if you want to, you know what, I've tried calling people 8 or more times. You can do that. So again, everyone's idea of how they want to use their system or how they want to target their leads is different. So if you just do number of calls and is equal to or greater than, I'm probably not going to have anyone, you never know, is 5. Oh, there's 13 in here, so never mind. We could see, so 8 calls, you can kind of watch, right? This is how many communications we still haven't. You might want to also add a pipeline to the people that you haven't made contact with, right? So you might add the pipeline feature as well. So if we're like pipeline is not, and then basically make contact, anyone that's basically a not. And there's probably now one. Now there's one. There's one person in here that we've called at least 5 times and we have yet to make contact with them, basically is what this is. So this is somebody that you could deem. Again, how everyone deems leads to be unresponsive. We have to just remember that just because we're calling doesn't mean it's a convenient time each time for the lead to take a call, right? So everyone's different, but we have to call leads more than once, more than twice. The most common, just kind of on this subject that I hear is, my leads aren't answering, no one's answering. And then I look at their system and each lead has like 1 call on them. You know, that's, you know, you're drawing from a hat there and hoping for the best if you're calling and only giving it 1 shot. We all run different schedules, we run different lifestyles, obligations, things like that. I actually had somebody the other day who, you know, through COVID, he's a teacher, wanted to get into real estate, took his licensing. So if anyone was ever calling that guy in the middle of the day, never answering his phone, he feasibly couldn't. I've had, you know, people that work in medical practices, they can't take their calls. So it's not that they don't want to talk to you. It could just be that you're calling at times that they're not available to take calls. So that's where you got to just keep trying, just keep going with your calls. And that's also where your save filters are going to help you. It just keeps you on top of those calls with those leads, but the non-responsive can help you get those leads that perhaps just aren't being responsive to you to get them to answer. And of course, if you guys are doing calls and you're in here and you're active, your number 4 will be those people, because you can see that you've called them at least 8 times, and you can remove the activity, you can remove whatever it might be. But this is one way to find it. So if you don't care if they're active or not active, but you still haven't made contact with them, this could very well be a list as an indicator. I should throw these people on the unresponsive lead campaign. Perfect. So that is really, really it. Before we go, here we have a few minutes. Is there any questions that we could jump into? Whether it has to do with in the system with the lead and the campaigns or the campaign building or assignments or anything like that? No? We're good? Awesome. So I will send in the recording tomorrow. I'm going to send this link here. It's not the on-call, but with the training site. So in here, you do have that campaign section in the training.agentlocator.ca. So this is something that you guys can watch. Again, these are all fairly quick, short, and straight to the point. These can be a little bit longer in video content just because they are walking you through processes, but it's a great place to kind of resort to. And then as mentioned, if you go ahead, I encourage you strongly to start trying to build out a campaign, build some templates, build campaigns, And then we can look at them with you. Make sure that you've set them up right. If you have any ideas of campaigns and things like that, I know a lot of people want to try to get creative. We can help you build campaigns with respect to whatever it is. We just help need the content, really, is what it is. We don't know all the specifics around first-time buyers and things that you guys should be telling a first-time buyer, or the timelines and things like that. So there's a lot of creativity that you can go a long way in here, utilizing those campaigns to help you nurture and ultimately convert those leads over time, because you can have those campaigns run for as long as you want them to, nurturing those leads throughout the process. But thank you, everyone, for hopping on today. I hope you're walking away with, something more than you came with. And again, just reach out to myself, support, or your assigned trainer should you wish to get any direction or have specific help with your system and your leads. But thank you all, and we hope to see you all again next week.